They never expected Earth to notice. A small scout ship, cloaked in shimmer fields, descended quietly through clouds over the Oregon mountains. It was early morning. A girl with tangled hair, clutching her stuffed bear, wandered just beyond the tree line behind her home. Her name was Mia Carson. 7 years old. She liked butterflies. She liked to hum when she thought no one was listening. The light that took her was silent. It didn't cut the air or scream across the sky. It simply opened. And she vanished. When her mother turned around, coffee in hand, the backyard was empty. A dropped plush toy lay in the grass. Police arrived. Neighbors searched. Hours passed. The sun fell. The woods turned cold. By the second day, every screen in the county glowed with her picture. Online forums churned theories. Wild animals, abduction, the river. But there was no trail. No drag marks, no footprints. Nothing. 3 days in, the search expanded statewide. On the 4th, the FBI stepped in. Then came the anomaly. NORAD flagged a brief, near-invisible energy ripple in the upper atmosphere, time-stamped within 30 seconds of Mia's last known location. Too sharp for lightning, too cold for solar activity. Deep archives pulled a pattern match, one last seen over Siberia in 1989. That event had been buried beneath 100 layers of classification. But now, someone opened the vault. By day 6, every intelligence agency with access to orbital feeds was reviewing sensor logs. The United Nations convened quietly. Behind their public silence, panic mounted. At a secure facility in Colorado, 4-star generals stared at grainy recon footage showing a shape entering low orbit, 23 meters in length, non-reflective, design unmatched by any terrestrial technology. It had no visible thrusters. It left no heat trail. Someone, something, had taken a human child. And Earth was not supposed to be part of that equation. Elsewhere, aboard a sterile vessel drifting beyond the Kuiper Belt, Mia sat alone in a sealed room. No stars, no windows. The walls pulsed with soft yellow light. She had stopped crying, though her throat was raw. An entity entered, tall and multi-limbed, encased in chitin armor interwoven with sensor bands. It observed her as a scientist would a caged insect. Subject 143A, human juvenile. Mass, 21.4 kilograms. Cognitive speed, inefficient. Emotional response, excessive. Threat level, negligible. The Galactic Empire had catalogued over 2,000 species. Humanity had remained unlisted, quarantined, observed, deemed not yet relevant. Their culture too volatile, their science too slow. Their world was marked as watch only. But curiosity had slipped its leash. A junior exploration directive, eager to gain merit, initiated an unsanctioned collection. A specimen was taken for behavioral indexing. It was, to them, a small error. On Earth, however, it was war. In Washington, analysts parsed ancient satellite data. The 1989 anomaly. The 1973 flash over Argentina. A submerged object off the coast of Greenland in 2001. Patterns emerged. Someone had been here before. Humanity's patience fractured. Diplomats were sidelined. Military assets moved without public knowledge. Think tanks long mocked as fringe now found themselves fully funded. Project Phoenix, dormant for 20 years, activated. Below Cheyenne Mountain, a new directive was typed into classified systems. Orion Protocol, Priority Black. Media outlets, fed false leads, focused on weather anomalies and local politics. The public had already forgotten the girl. But those in command had not. What had begun as grief curdled into cold calculation. They wouldn't broadcast their fury. They would show it. In orbit, black budget satellites shifted alignment. Energy spikes were masked as solar flares. At a lunar installation beneath Shackleton Crater, a launch sequence ticked down beneath layers of regolith. No flags flew. No names were spoken aloud. And all the while, in that room of humming walls, Mia whispered the same phrase through cracked lips. I want to go home. Her voice didn't carry through the reinforced barrier. Her captors didn't understand the language. But the room's AI logged it. Human speech. Emotional register, 89% distress. Duration, 5 minutes, 12 seconds. An automated report was filed, unread by the detached overseers who had already moved on to other pursuits. To them, it was routine. Insignificant. They failed to understand what Earth was. They failed to grasp that for every second Nia remained in that cell, a countdown was advancing on every human screen that mattered. Because the girl they stole was not a resource. Not an experiment. She was a daughter. She was a name. And her home was coming. Orders spread without fanfare. No public addresses. No diplomatic overtures. Earth would not beg. A silent transmission pulsed from NORAD to Fort Meade, then spidered through shadow networks buried beneath decades of international defense agreements. Old flags were ignored. Borders blurred. Orion Protocol took precedence. Subterranean vaults opened. Files marked with red sigils, untouched for years, were decrypted by machines built to never forget. The last remaining pieces of salvaged alien material, recovered from crash sites and orbital incidents, were moved under armed escort. Unspent theories found urgency. Hypotheses turned into schematics. Weapons turned real. Aerospace black sites in Nevada and Siberia ran nonstop fabrication. Prototypes became fleets. Materials scientists unveiled hulls that distorted radar beyond theoretical limits. Quantum entanglement communicators, once dismissed as impractical, linked strike teams across solar distances with zero delay. The timeline was accelerated. Every delay was treason. On the moon, automated facilities activated beneath kilometers of ice and dust. The Aegis Lance, a warship with no nation and no registry, accepted its crew in silence. Its engines were dark matter compression coils. It had no windows, only sense-blind hull. Even its mass was cloaked by null-field generators. It did not announce itself. It simply left. From deep within Earth's Special Operations community, Vengeance Echo was selected. 38 personnel. Each had died at least once in the field. Rebuilt, reconditioned, returned. They spoke 12 languages between them, but used none unless necessary. Their neural enhancements allowed for silent tactical coordination. Synthetic nerves ran alongside bone. Every muscle had been rebuilt with graphene strands. Their gear was not commercially modeled or tested. It was built for them, and them alone. They weren't soldiers. They weren't assassins. They were the answer. Satellites were repositioned using civilian commercial cover. Civilian astronomy networks flagged anomalies, quickly silenced by targeted misinformation. Earth's war machine no longer needed authorization. It needed precision. And time was bleeding. Mia's location remained unknown, but patterns formed from the scout ship's trajectory. Its warp displacement bore a unique quantum signature. Human analysts tracked it to a fringe zone of the Sagittarius Reach. A trade hub, barely charted, operated by third-tier Empire logistics. Not military. Vulnerable. The mission was not to negotiate. It was to test. Within 72 hours, Aegis Lance arrived undetected in high orbit over the identified sector. The Empire, oblivious to the ship's presence, ran standard patrols. None detected the intruder. The ship's AI engaged partial cloaking, its systems dispersing heat across asteroid fields to maintain thermographic silence. Inside the command bay, Vengeance Echo received green light signals. Their insertion pod, disguised as metallic debris, detached and coasted downward. Local gravity took care of the rest. There was no ceremony. No message. Back on Earth, command systems received confirmation, infiltration successful, no resistance encountered. Then silence. 22 minutes later, orbital satellites picked up seismic tremors. No energy weapons. No alarms. Just failure. Power grids collapsed, communication towers dropped, and automated sentries looped into dormant cycles. 38 humans, armed with monomolecular blades, pulse rifles, and nothing to lose, dismantled the forward operating base in under 11 minutes. No prisoners. No negotiations. Among the Empire personnel, 3 high-value biotechnicians were tagged for interrogation. They didn't survive the download process. Their brains were mined for transit records, prisoner logs, data coordinates. The Empire had moved the girl deeper into their systems. But not before her name was recorded. Mia Carson. Specimen 143A. Relocated to Deep Research Core on Vector Spire 6. The information, once verified, was uploaded into the Aegis Lance mainframe. It confirmed their worst-case estimates. The Empire had initiated a full behavioral study. Earth was not simply dealing with a rogue scout. This had become sanctioned experimentation. Back on the trade hub, the remains of the base burned. No messages were sent. No survivors told stories. A quiet, controlled detonation erased every structure, including the hidden labs and data servers. A beacon was left behind, one word, etched into tritanium alloy in every major galactic dialect: return. The Empire's first clue came as a silence they couldn't interpret. One of their minor assets stopped responding. Then another. Panic didn't set in, not yet. Bureaucracies rarely move with speed. But doubt began to seep through reports. Primitive species do not erase outposts. Primitive species do not cloak warships. Primitive species do not leave warnings. Earth wasn't making a statement. Earth was building momentum. The mission was complete. Vengeance Echo returned without casualties. Data recovered. Coordinates locked. Retrieval became pursuit. The girl was still alive. Now Earth was close. The outpost designated Vector Spire 3 never issued a distress call. One moment it was transmitting trade logs, the next its systems dropped into total blackout. Surveillance satellites caught only the aftermath, structures melted into slag, atmospheric ionization off the scale, radiation bloom inconsistent with known Empire tech. Recovery vessels dispatched from a nearby garrison found nothing salvageable. No data cores. No personnel. No bodies. What they didn't know was that Earth had just issued its first real strike. No declaration. No warning. The Aegis Lance had fired once, one shot from its axial kinetic rail, coated in anti-grav sheathing, moving at 26% light speed. It passed through a city-sized station before impact registered. Secondary warheads followed, not for destruction, but for data denial. Nothing left to analyze. Just dust and radiation. In Galactic Core Command, the disappearance was logged, but buried beneath routine disruptions. It wasn't until the fourth site went dark that attention focused. Patterns became visible. The Empire's frontier, stable for decades, was fraying. Entire subnets ceased responding. Maintenance drones vanished. Courier ships went missing mid-jump. Inside the Aegis Lance, Earth's operatives reviewed maps the Empire believed unbreakable. Data pulled from the raid on Vector Spire 3 confirmed Mia's new location. Deep Research Core Sigma 9, orbiting a neutron star, heavily shielded and protected by a 10-layer defense grid. A fortress designed to deter fleets. Humanity didn't bring fleets. They brought precision. Vengeance Echo redeployed. Smaller this time, 6-man insertion unit, carrying stasis breach packs, ionic blade modules, and neural disruptors encoded with Empire command dialects. The mission profile was tight: silent insertion, target extraction, subsystem corruption, and exit within a 40-minute window. Sigma 9's outer defenses never saw the pod arrive. It embedded into the base's cooling shaft, synchronized with maintenance drones, and piggybacked on service pulses. Once inside, the team split. 2 members rerouted surveillance. 2 mapped the interior via EM scans. 1 established a continuous uplink. 1 found her. Mia Carson was still alive. Her file had been updated. Subject has shown adaptive resistance to stasis field lethargy. Signs of neurocompensation observed. Emotional resilience, high. The Empire had begun comparative trials. Her reaction to isolation, deprivation, stress. They didn't see a child. They saw a variable. Human operatives terminated every technician in the vicinity. No announcements. No confrontation. Silent takedowns, clean sweeps. Mia was sedated, extracted, secured in a containment pod tailored to dampen sensory shock. The exfiltration was not clean. During retreat, an automated turret system flagged a thermal irregularity. Alarms triggered. Protocol Sigma-Red engaged. Station defenses activated. The Aegis Lance, previously parked on the dark side of a nearby moon, moved into firing position. Its second offensive was not kinetic. It deployed a single orbital drone loaded with a black glass payload. Invisible to light, undetectable by most Empire sensors, the drone latched onto the station's external communications array. It injected a virus built by Earth's quantum engineers, one designed not to crash systems, but to misinform them. Every exit door opened. Every threat alert reversed. Automated defenses stood down. Then, before failsafes recovered, the base detonated from within. Every fusion coil overloaded. No distress signal reached the Empire. The girl was already en route back to the Lance. Her vitals monitored, stabilized, shielded. From orbit, Earth's warship left nothing behind. It erased Sigma-9 from existence. One flash. No residue. The data harvested confirmed broader truths. Mia had not been the first taken. Earth was not the first planet violated. But it was the first to respond. In Empire Senate sessions, panic took form. The word human was spoken now with care. They weren't a known quantity. They had become a variable. Their tools operated beyond calibrated thresholds. Their tactics were unknown. Their precision exceeded projection. And above all, they were invisible until too late. Internal security reforms began. Patrols doubled. Spire networks reinforced. But even as protocols shifted, more systems went silent. Humanity didn't pause after retrieval. The strikes continued, not to conquer, not to colonize, but to erase infrastructure. Every location tied to human experimentation, genetic extraction, or behavioral observation was targeted. One after another, they ceased to exist. No demands. No propaganda. Only a simple, repeating signal left at every destroyed site. Asterisk, she has been retrieved. Do not come again. Asterisk. The message reached the inner circle. And they understood. Earth had shown what it was willing to do for one child. There was no guessing what it would do for more. The Empire responded with escalation. Patrol routes expanded. Central fleets repositioned. Strategic Command issued wide-spectrum scans across a dozen sectors. Unknown contacts were flagged hourly. Most returned no. Some never responded again. Fear entered the calculations. Earth didn't pause. Aegis Lance had already mapped 47 secondary facilities connected to the abduction network. Each was catalogued, prioritized, and placed in the strike queue. Locations ranged from research silos to deep space way stations. The objectives remained identical: no survivors, no data left behind, no pattern to predict. The harrowers were deployed. They were unmanned. Remote piloted vessels operated by Neuralink AIs, trained on terabytes of battlefield doctrine, historical simulations, and alien behavior datasets. Each drone moved with full autonomy but retained the emotional detachment of synthetic design. No hesitation. No diplomacy. Within 9 days, 14 separate systems ceased reporting. The Empire's doctrine relied on slow superiority, sheer numbers, established logistics, planetary choke points. Earth's model rejected that. Speed. Anonymity. Precision. Then disappearance. No territory taken. No explanations offered. Just silence where presence once existed. At the edge of Empire space, the Fifth Armada detected a series of phantom contacts, brief sensor echoes that vanished before confirmation. Moments later, 2 of its cruisers lost power simultaneously. Their reactor shielding failed. Hulls ruptured. 38,000 crew perished. Aegis Lance remained undetected. Earth's next phase involved infrastructure disruption. Not through physical destruction, but corruption. Empire comm nodes were targeted. Data cores injected with false logs, rerouted orders, and incorrect navigation paths. Fleets launched to intercept fabricated invasions. Convoys disappeared into dead systems. Trust in their networks eroded. Empire analysts began questioning internal integrity. Some suspected rebellion. Others blamed external species. Few dared name Earth. Official reports downplayed incidents. Quietly, assets were retracted. Border colonies were left unguarded. Outposts were decommissioned under the pretext of realignment. At the political level, dissonance grew. Senators accused high command of incompetence. Regional governors withheld resources. Private security conglomerates raised their prices. The foundation fractured. Meanwhile, Earth deployed Project Black Glass. It was not a weapon. It was absence perfected. Orbital cloaking fields rendered human ships not only invisible, but undetectable in gravimetric distortion, heat, EM output, or light reflection. A vessel hidden under black glass could orbit a planet for weeks unnoticed. And they did. Humanity used this to observe, not to learn about their enemy, but to anticipate where next to strike. Every resource depot, every troop movement, every biolab was now vulnerable. Entire supply chains were mapped, marked, and silently cut. Empire's leadership convened under emergency authority. For the first time in centuries, their core regions were under threat. And they lacked a target. There was no adversary to confront, no base to attack, no council to pressure. In desperation, they sent envoys. Unarmed diplomatic vessels arrived in Sol System, broadcasting peace terms. Offers of alliance. Reparation. They spoke of misunderstanding, rogue elements, cultural divergence. Earth answered with coordinates. 16 sites. All connected to experimentation on abducted humans. The implication was clear. Shut them down, or lose them. The Empire hesitated. Then refused. 3 days later, those 16 sites no longer existed. Simultaneously struck, no chance for evacuation. Not a single response was intercepted. Earth's silence spoke louder than any transmission. Among the stars, the myth began. A force that did not negotiate. A people who did not forgive. A species who demanded nothing, but punished everything. Empire military doctrine began to buckle. Officers second-guessed engagements. Scouting reports became unreliable. Soldiers refused assignments near human operational zones. Recruitment rates fell. Discipline eroded. Earth watched it unravel. They had never claimed to be superior. Only unwilling to be violated. In the vacuum created by fear, other species noticed. Neighboring systems, long bullied by the Empire, began to assert independence. Minor factions stopped paying tribute. Former colonies expelled advisors. Chaos spread contagion. Earth said nothing. They continued their work. Quietly, thoroughly. Every confirmed site tied to human abduction was neutralized. Research centers, black market archives, genetic vaults. All gone. Then, without signal or broadcast, the operation ceased. Empire systems stabilized, waiting for the next strike. None came. Silence lingered. But it was not peace. It was aftermath. The girl awoke to gravity that felt right. Air that tasted like home. Sounds that didn't echo off metal walls. She opened her eyes inside a chamber lined with soft lighting, biosensors adjusting to her pulse, a voice humming gentle tones. It spoke her name, not as a code, but as someone who knew her. She didn't understand how far she had been carried, only that she was no longer alone. Her retrieval was complete, but Earth had not finished. The Galactic Empire had called them primitives. Had weighed their silence as weakness, their caution as ignorance. They believed a species unable to breach warp space on its own was not worth fearing. That belief no longer existed. Every high command terminal now displayed risk assessments with a new variable, Terran incursion capacity star. They didn't know how many ships Earth truly possessed, or how many units like Vengeance Echo operated, or how many Harrower systems were active. And that uncertainty was what broke them. Earth did not expand. It didn't conquer planets. It made no claims. But it enforced a new boundary, unspoken yet absolute: touch nothing human. No monuments were built. No military parades. Mia's return was never made public. Her existence became classified beyond clearance. She would grow up in a protected identity, her past sealed in off-record archives. She would never remember the full scale of the machinery that moved to bring her home. But Earth remembered. Those who served did not need medals. They had completed what mattered. In the Empire, silence turned into doctrine. Generals who once mocked humanity now forbade any reconnaissance near Sol. Black glass signatures became known as the final warning. Smugglers who violated the perimeter vanished without explanation. Stations that ran unauthorized scans stopped responding. The message was always the same: if Earth was watching, leave. Mia's capture had been categorized as an error. An unsanctioned operation. The perpetrators were purged by their own superiors, not in remorse, but in panic. They feared a second wave. Earth had not made threats. It had left a trail of ruin. If provoked again, there would be no pattern, no limit. Galactic Council tribunals debated a formal resolution: classify humanity as a protected force. Not allied. Not integrated. Just untouched. The vote passed in silence. It was the first unanimous decision in 500 years. Trade routes were redrawn. Star charts updated with blank zones. Navigation software flagged Earth's sector with a simple note: do not approach. There was no treaty. Just understanding. Humanity returned to its quiet work. Infrastructure rebuilt. Data fortified. Surveillance hardened. No celebration. Just vigilance. On Luna's far side, the Aegis Lance entered hibernation. Its systems shut down in sequence. Crew reassigned. Hull sealed. It would remain there, waiting. Not for orders. For necessity. Mia resumed a life she couldn't quite recall. Therapy sessions, secure schools, new names, carefully structured freedom. She smiled sometimes. Laughed occasionally. The weight faded, slowly. But the scars remained, subtle and deep. Those who had carried her home disappeared into anonymity. No stories told. No photos leaked. They vanished as cleanly as they had struck. Galactic historians would one day struggle to define the event. There was no formal war. No treaties. No captured territories. Just a period marked by unexplained losses, systemic disruption, and one undeniable consequence: human engagement protocol revised permanently. Empire research into Earth halted completely. Scientists deleted files. Archives were sealed. The word human became a cultural red line. Some species refused to speak it aloud. Myths grew. None exaggerated. It was said Earth avenged its own without delay, without mercy, without ego. And then returned to its silence. In the void of speculation, no other power dared test the claim. The Empire shifted its expansion away from Sol's quadrant. Explorers avoided human trajectories. Cartographers marked the region with black fields. Earth said nothing further. It had done exactly what it needed to do, no more, no less. For a single child, they moved faster than the Empire thought possible. For a single life, they dismantled certainty. And in doing so, humanity left behind no occupation, no monument, no flag. Just wreckage and a truth carved in silence. They are not to be provoked. Because when Earth comes, it comes with all of itself. Quiet. Focused. Unstoppable. And when its purpose is fulfilled, it disappears again, leaving only memory and ash.